In this episode, we discuss the Bahujan Samaj Party and Mayawati's standing in Uttar Pradesh as the state approaches the sixth phase of the Lok Sabha polls. We also talk about a severe incident of turbulence that proved to be fatal. But first, we talk about the use of deepfakes in the current Lok Sabha polls. Hi, I am Niharika Nanda, and you are listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. As we approach the end of the ongoing Lok Sabha polls, one glaring issue has become increasingly apparent: the use of deepfakes in these elections. For those who may not be familiar, deepfakes are synthetic videos, audio recordings, or doctored images created using artificial intelligence and disseminated over social media platforms. To cite one example, recently, an old video of Home Minister Amit Shah, in which he was talking about removing the 4% reservation for Muslims in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, was edited to allegedly making it appear like he was saying that all the reservations, including quotas for SCs and STs, would be scrapped. Similarly, deepfakes featuring popular Hindi film actors such as Aamir Khan and Ranveer Singh circulated widely on social media, showing them criticizing Prime Minister Narendra Modi and urging people to vote for Congress instead. This issue was also acknowledged by the Election Commission of India, which earlier this month directed all political parties to promptly remove all deepfake content from their social media platforms within 3 hours of being notified. To talk about this, we present to you a conversation between Nandagopal Rajan, COO, The Indian Express Online, and Anand Trivedi, Director, CyberProof, a UST company. This discussion was first aired on the podcast Our Own Devices. Here's Nandagopal Rajan.
Anand, though it's a topic everybody is, I think aware of, I'm sure people don't really realize the scope and scale of what is deep fake, right? And it's not exactly a new thing. I remember talking about it in colleges a few years back. But could you just explain a little bit on what all comes under the spectrum of deep fake and maybe what we call synthetic content?
Sure. Deepfake, first thing, when you say all are aware, we are talking about the people who are educated and especially in the light of elections that you mentioned.
Yes.
We are running the largest democratic process in the world, right? And there are around 1 billion people who are going to vote. So definitely everybody will not be aware. Now, when we talk about deepfakes, it's, AI generated content, whether it's audio, whether it's video, whether it's images, there are various forms and various levels to which deepfake is involved. It could be a video which is completely mustered with intent. It could be audio clips that are sent through social media, circulated through WhatsApp and other, sharing channels. So any content that is not real is termed as deepfake, and it could be floating on the internet, or it could be sent via mobile phones or shared internally. Now, when we are talking about deepfake, what's important is deepfake is again, and AI are very good technologies. They are shaping and helping us a lot in whatever we do. But the issue is primarily with the intent, right? With what intent is that information or deepfake being created? That's where the issue lies.
And for a long time, we had this perception that if you see it, it is true. And everything that's happening now is actually going against that perception. You're seeing it, it's absolutely lifelike, and maybe it is based on an actual image or video, but it is not true. The lips have been synced. The audio has been recreated. You now have clips of Modi singing a Malayalam song, for instance, right? Which is never going to happen, actually. But everything can be sort of generated from the ground up synthetically, right?
Yes, it's the technology advancement, right? Earlier, there were face superimposition that used to happen and used to create some issues. But today it's not limiting to just an image and putting somebody else's face to it. As you said, it's completely synced up. It's normal human eye cannot distinguish between a deepfake video, a deepfake speech, or a deepfake image today. That's the level of technology advancement that has happened. So for normal users, it's very difficult to distinguish.
It is so perfect that you can have a full-length feature film being created with only dead actors, right? And you wouldn't realize it for even a second that these people are long dead and gone, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. There have been various instances. In fact, we being in the industry and closely working on these things, we've seen it multiple use cases, whether it's Bollywood, whether it's politicians, whether it's the financial industry, it's used everywhere. And the level of sophistication is too great. In fact, when we attend events globally, They demonstrate how this is done, and the technology companies are demonstrating their leadership in generating this kind of content.
Yeah. And again, because it is AI, it is getting better at a pace faster than it was getting better at maybe a week back, right? So it's completely beyond us in a way. So we really don't know what's going to happen maybe 6 weeks down the line, right?
Correct. So, I jokingly say that earlier we used to see from our eyes and our brain used to process it. Now what we probably have our brain process it differently than what we see visually in front of us.
Yes.
And, as you said, technologically, there are neural processing units which can run high compute, which can, capture speech and quickly modulate it and, put it to your words and then sync your lips. They just need an image of you. That's it. And they will do the rest. Highly sophisticated. And in fact, you will be surprised the simplicity with it can be done. It's no longer a complex process. There are applications that can do it. My kids have downloaded video apps where, they put my face and they make me dance in a way they like.
Yeah, absolutely. But the worrying thing is how it can be used to change the mandate, for instance, right? Like how people perceive an election, how people react to election, how they vote, because it can be done at scale. And again, as you mentioned, maybe it's happening right now. It's going as WhatsApp messages. We don't even know. It's not even hitting the surface. So is there any idea, for instance, what is the scale of this kind of a corruption that has happened,
Oh, if we talk about the cyber crime industry, there are various estimates, but it is estimated to be about an $8 trillion economy itself, cyber crime itself. And the growth rates are 15%. It's a huge industry. In fact, I was reading one of the IMF articles which says this is an industry which is run as professionally as any businesses across the world. And, the profits are pretty huge. That's where it's attracting a lot of attention. Definitely cyber crime is big. There are no estimates currently on the deepfake, and because the damage might not be only monetary. The damage could be more others, like we said, in political processes and others, reputation losses. So in that case, it's difficult to quantify. But overall cybercrime is a huge industry.
And in the election spectrum, what are the kind of instances that you've seen how it has been used?
Oh, we've seen all modules. We've seen images, fake images. We've seen deep fake AI-powered speeches. We have seen audio clips that have come through WhatsApp. The huge teams, in fact, political parties as well as the social media platforms have deployed huge teams to detect. But still, it's all post facto. It is detected once it comes online, right? The power of social media, everything spreads like fire. All right. So we've seen complete spectrum of usage. This is dubbed as an first AI election for India. So, AI comes, as you said, with its own perils as well. So deepfake is one of the perils that we will have to live with for now. So there's a lot of measures taken, but it's throughout being used.
And as you mentioned, a lot of things that the reaction is late, right? And maybe the damage is already done. And the fact that maybe a video has been called out as fake is not reaching the person who's actually been impacted by the fake video, right?
Exactly. So, in my opinion, there should have been strict guidelines. There should have been measures taken much before, the process started. Even if you see the Election Commission of India, they issued a letter to the political parties as late as May 6th, right? It's halfway through the elections and then ECI is issuing a letter. So probably they did not anticipate the level of impact and the content that is floating around. That's where they felt the need for this kind of, measure to be taken. But, it's being there. It's being real. The detection mechanisms are right now at its early stages. There are, companies which are taking up a full business to detect deepfakes and, build businesses on it. McAfee has partnered with Intel to detect AI deepfake videos. Social media platforms are doing a whole lot, but definitely nothing is enough.
Now, how do you make people aware, or how do they ensure that they don't fall prey to this, right? Is there a way, because it's getting better and better, right? Even trained eyes can no longer do this. Do you need technology for this, or are there some basic things that people can keep in mind while, looking at anything and then taking a call whether it's true or false?
Yeah, so, we need technology for sure. As I said, the level of sophistication is not something that a naked eye can detect. we cannot keep spreading messages that, this was a deepfake video, as you rightly said. The level with which the fake content spreads and then the information behind it to say this was fake, it does not reach everybody. So the handful measures that we are taking will not suffice. Now, I'm imagining that, as the industry matures and the technology evolves on the detection and protection of deepfakes, there would be a button on every image to say, is this real or is it deepfake? And at the back end, it can run a scan to say, okay, this is a fake video. But today there are websites, there are, certain applications where you can go and see whether this is fake news, fake image. But it's left to the owners to validate whether, or to take that extra step to see whether what they are seeing, is it real or is it fake?
Is this something that we have actually unleashed on the world without really thinking about the implications? Should we have put in checks and balances in place at the platform level itself so that this kind of content is not created? If it is created, maybe it comes with watermarks saying AI generated and all of that. And I guess it's too late to do something like that now, right?
For the election process, definitely it's too late. Whether there are guidelines, there are guidelines, right? Whether there is already a legal provision to punish, any such deepfake content coming up, there is. But, whether we've unleashed it, it's true with every technology enhancement that is happening, right? Today, every technology that we know has its disadvantage. Whether we are talking about, way back when plastic was introduced, we now realize what a menace that is. When we have mobile phones, we know that, its waves have certain kind of radiations that are harmful. The internet has its own set of disadvantages, but whether, we could stop today, technology advancement cannot be stopped, in my opinion, right? There is a huge technology wave adoption. People's lifestyles have changed and they are ready to adopt technology, right? I gave this example in a lot of my sessions. When we bring in Alexa or Google Home at our home, right? We know that it's going to listen all the time. And then when we call it, it will read the news, it will play the song that we want, it will read our emails, but we still want it. So even the educated people adopt technology which they know that carry certain risk. Issue is with people who are not tech savvy. Not everybody in the technology industry, not everybody is educated, and they are still using technology. There are around 800 million out of the 1 billion voters who are connected to the internet or the social media and have mobile phone or, internet access. So that's where the reach is. Now, whether everybody is expected to be educated enough to take it through their lens of speculation, no, right? That's not possible.
No, so do you think, maybe not immediately, but in a year or so, maybe we have this kind of a check coming at the platform level, which is in a way the vector, it is what is carrying this kind of content and making it viral. So is it possible for a Facebook, a Twitter, a WhatsApp to alert or at least give a disclaimer based on whatever content it has on it and reading through some signals to say that this could be possibly be synthetic?
Yes, there will be. In fact, I'm sure, I can't put a time frame to it, but there will be, these platforms will have to put in checks in place before it's relayed. And that is where, if you see, the regulators are pushing a lot of ownership on these platforms, companies, to say that, you guys need to make sure that whatever content you're putting is real, is not a social threat. So there will be such kind of things available, and there will be a need. There is already a need to do it. It's just, again, the technology catch up. The cyber criminals are always step ahead. And
one step ahead.
Once mechanism comes place, then the regulation and then the legislative, right?
Is there a way to make this less lucrative so that people, as in the cyber criminals, don't find it attractive enough to do, or to make it very costly to create something like this? We already know AI generation is costly. But the cyber criminals seem to be able to do it quite well.
Again, if we talk about in the light of elections, the stakes are high, right? So no cost deterrent can be
is high enough.
Good enough or big enough to say that it's expensive, I will not use it. Depending on what it is used for and what is the outcome that is expected, small profits can be a deterrent. Something that some criminal is doing for a small gain, he would look at the cost. The cost is primarily and today again, compute storage is available very, very cheap, right? If you take Gmail is free and we can store 100 gigs data there. Compute power is available at a very cheap cost. So the impact is definitely there of AI, especially in terms of the heat generation by the large data centers that are running the blockchains and the AI content. So generation is costly. Generation is probably at a large scale, it is impacting the environment. But how much of it will be a deterrent to say that, this will not happen because of cost? I don't think cost is a factor at all at this point.
So before we wind up, is it right to say that we have reached a stage where we really can't trust anything that we see or hear online? Maybe it is up to us to sort of start building an internal antenna to filter out what could be fake content out there.
Yeah, I would say it's machine versus human. We need to use it, right? When we see something, we need to put it in context and evaluate whether it would be true or would it be false. And if we feel suspicious about it, we should validate, right? Especially depending on what action we are going to take. So the onus will definitely be on us to say whether we should accept it or not. While everybody will do their part, right? Political parties have been asked to take down within 3 hours of detection. Social media platforms have been told to be responsible. There is the legal implication, which has imprisonment. But for the end user, the onus will ultimately be on us to accept or reject the content that is put in front of us.
And that is, I think, going to be an essential life skill going forward.
Yes.
Would you agree?
That will be a life skill that we will have to teach, right? Just as simple as when we teach our kids what is a good touch and a bad touch.
Bad touch, yes.
It will be as essential as this, no doubt about it.
Yes.
The usage of technology, internet, the content, we'll have to teach our kids on how to use it and how to make sure that they can trust and take some action on it, for sure.
And next we talk about Uttar Pradesh, the state with the highest number of Lok Sabha constituencies and one that holds crucial significance for both the BJP and the Congress party, which is in alliance with the Samajwadi party this time. Now, despite extensive discussions on the campaign strategies of these parties in the state, the talk around the Bahujan Samaj Party or BSP has been somewhat muted this time around. The party, which secured the second highest number of Lok Sabha seats in the previous polls, has avoided campaigning prominently this time. However, BSP chief Mayawati still maintains significant influence in eastern Uttar Pradesh, which is scheduled to vote in the 6th phase of the polls on 25th of May. In this segment, Indian Express's Asad Rehman joins us to discuss where the party stands at the moment. Asad, can you begin by talking about the kind of position that BSP finds itself in at the moment and the extent to which it has been campaigning?
The BSP currently in Uttar Pradesh has not been very active during the Lok Sabha election campaign, and that's quite evident when on the ground itself. Like, I've been traveling across eastern UP for the last few days, and I haven't really noticed too many public meetings or door-to-door campaign by the party, whereas the other parties like the BJP and the Samajwadi Party and Congress Alliance have been very active on the ground. You can see their campaign being done across eastern UP districts. On the other hand, the BSP is almost invisible on the ground and their campaign is also not there. And even though the BSP has fielded candidates on all 80 seats across Uttar Pradesh for the Lok Sabha elections, the party is currently not very active in terms of campaign. BSP President and former Chief Minister Mayawati also not done too many campaign meetings, public meetings like she used to do. And that's been one of the reasons why the party's performance is likely not going to be very good in the elections.
And you have been traveling in UP and have been speaking to those in the Jatav community who have supported the BSP for years. Talk about what they have been telling you.
So the Jatavs, I'll talk a little bit about them. They are a subcaste within the Dalit community in Uttar Pradesh, and they are the same caste that Mayawati also comes from. I traveled to several villages with predominantly Jatav population in eastern UP and spoke to people on the ground. And while most of them accept that the BSP doesn't really have a great chance of, winning a lot of seats in Uttar Pradesh, but members of the community, the Jatav community, still say that their vote is going to go to their traditional party and the party which they've been supporting for generations, and which is the Bahujan Samaj Party. They say that even though Mayawati might not be forming government and might not be in the best position in Uttar Pradesh, but they are going to still vote for the BSP in these elections.
And do we know the reason behind that?
The main reason why members of the Jatav community are most likely going to vote for the BSP is loyalty. And the second most important reason is the factor of caste. Most of voting preferences in Uttar Pradesh and other parts of North India and other parts of India depend on caste equations and caste. So people from the Dalit community and the Jatav subcaste within the Dalit community, they say that even though their vote might go to another party, like say for example, even if they vote for the BJP, their vote is not going to be counted for them, and when the BJP does come back to power, or if it does form government at the center again, the Dalits are not going to get any of the benefits. The Jatavs are not going to get any benefits from the government because their count of their votes won't be done by the BJP. So this is one of the reasons. Then just general caste loyalty towards Mayawati is there. Then they consider Mayawati to be one of their biggest leaders in the last few decades, and that is why they feel that no matter even if she is in with a chance or not in with a chance in this election, they're going to vote for the BSP. So these are some of the factors which are dominating a voting pattern of the Jatav community in UP. And this is what I found while I was traveling across Dalit villages in eastern UP.
And Asad, you had the opportunity to talk to the people of the state. What were their main concerns?
Some of the main concerns that people have spoken to me about during this election cycle have included unemployment. Jobs are a major concern for the general population right now, that there are no jobs for people, and most young people who even have degrees from colleges and universities don't get jobs under this current government. That is one of the main things that people have spoken to me about. Then the second most important thing is price rise, which is inflation. Like, people have really complained about price rise being one of the main reasons why their vote is not going to go to the BJP, and that they've struggled in the last few years because of the rise of prices of common things like food grains and like everyday use items. So these are two of the main issues that voters in Uttar Pradesh are really talking about this time: price rise and unemployment.
Also, Asad, who are the main players in the state at the moment?
See, on one side, it's the Bharatiya Janata Party, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in at the center. Then in UP, the other strong camp, which is the main opposition to the Bharatiya Janata Party, is the Samajwadi Party Congress alliance in Uttar Pradesh. So with the Congress and Samajwadi Party coming together, they are posing a decent challenge to the BJP, which had won 62 seats out of 80 in Uttar Pradesh in 2019 Lok Sabha elections. And this time, the BJP is contesting around 70 seats, more than 70 seats out of the 80, with a few being given to their allies, while the Samajwadi Party is contesting 62 seats and the Congress is contesting 17 seats for the opposition alliance, which is being called the Gathbandhan.
And the BSP did not accept India Bloc's invitation to join the alliance. Do we know the reason behind that?
There are no clear reasons on that, and Mayawati has repeatedly said that she will contest elections alone and that her experience with forming alliances in the past have not been very good. She had formed an alliance with the Samajwadi Party in the 2019 elections, and she had blamed the Samajwadi Party, saying that even though the BSP vote did transfer to the Samajwadi vote, the Samajwadi Party vote did not transfer to the BSP vote. And soon after the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, the alliance had fallen apart between the BSP and the Samajwadi Party. So Mayawati has multiple times spoken about the fact that she's going to go alone in this election, even though she hasn't cited too many reasons apart from the fact that her experiences with forming alliances has been bitter in the past.
And in the end, we talk about the Singapore Airlines aircraft that encountered turbulence so severe it resulted in the death of a passenger. On Monday, one person died and several injuries were reported after a Singapore Airlines flight operating from London to Singapore encountered severe turbulence en route. The flight was diverted and landed in Bangkok. According to Reuters, Thai media reported around 30 injuries. The exact cause of death and the nature of the injuries were unclear. The passengers had little warning about the chaos that unfolded. With around 3 hours left on the journey, Malaysian student Zafran Azmir sensed the 777-300R plane tilting upwards and beginning to shake uneasily. He told Reuters, quote, "Suddenly there was a very dramatic drop, so everyone not wearing a seatbelt was launched immediately into the ceiling. Some people hit their heads on the overhead baggage cabins, denting them and colliding with the places where the lights and the masks are located, breaking through them." Unquote. According to him, the crew and the people inside the lavatories were the most severely injured. He also mentioned that the captain then informed the passengers that they would be making an emergency landing in Thailand's capital, Bangkok. Ambulances later arrived and Azmir said he saw at least 8 people on stretchers being pulled out of the emergency exits. Usually, turbulences are caused by a disruption of airflow over the wings of an airplane, resulting in irregular vertical motion. Aircrafts experience some form of turbulence regularly, and pilots are trained to handle it. However, there have been several instances where turbulence has caused modern jetliners to crash. In 2022, a SpiceJet-operated Boeing 737-800 aircraft with 189 passengers encountered severe turbulence. On descent, it flew into bad weather, causing the turbulence. The airspeed suddenly dropped by around 100 knots before rising again. This caused passengers and crew to rise up almost as if in zero-gravity situation and then get slammed back down, all within minutes. 2 people were admitted to intensive care units and treated for head and spine injuries. You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by Shashank, Bhargava and me, Niharika, Nanda. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.